Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into my official college football week number 6 hot takes, where I talk about 14 or 15 things that I learned over the weekend on Saturday. Number 1, Chip Kelly is actually at this point significantly underrated, guys. What is it? I always say, trust Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly, big, huge game versus Utah. They're 3.5-point underdogs. They get the win. Chip Kelly, one of the best coaches in college football right now. I'd say minimum top 5. Major win. They've got a bye week, and then they've got a huge game at Oregon, and I'm already predicting UCLA to go in to Oregon and absolutely win in a huge blowout. Chip Kelly is a superstar. He's the hottest head coach in college football right now. Guys, trust Chip Kelly. He is underrated. UCLA, they could be playing in the Rose Bowl. You know, when it comes to the New Year's Six Bowls, their home stadium is where they could be playing. That would be crazy. Number 2, TCU will lose 3+ games in the regular season. I know TCU is undefeated currently. They're looking very good. They just beat Kansas. But guys, let's not overreact. I still expect a ton of parity within the Big 12 Conference, and TCU has multiple tough games remaining. They will lose at least 3 games. They got lucky. Kansas's quarterback, who led the nation in QBR, got knocked out of the game. Their backup comes in, throws for 4 touchdowns. Kansas outgains TCU by over 100 yards. I'm not buying this TCU team. I still think they're good, but in terms of the Big 12, this team's going to start losing. They already had their bye week, so they've got a lot of games upcoming still. TCU will miss out on a New Year's Six Bowl, guaranteed. I understand they're undefeated. Everyone loves them. They're gonna lose 3 or 4 games, guys. I'm telling you, there's so much parity right now in the Big 12 Conference. Number 3, Penn State and Michigan are even to me. So, guys, we've got the huge Penn State-Michigan big noon game coming next week. Everyone's talking about Penn State's better, Michigan's better. Michigan's going to be 6-7-point favorites. Guys, the way I see it, both of these teams are split down the middle. I understand Michigan has been ranked higher. Maybe they look a little better on the field, but to me, Michigan struggles with Maryland. They struggle with Indiana, at least in the first half. I view these teams as identical. I believe it's going to be a very close, lower scoring, 24-21 type game between Penn State and Michigan at the Big House next week. Everyone's got an opinion. I've been seeing a lot of Penn State fans who are confident they will beat Michigan on the road. They say, they're going to beat Michigan, then lose to Ohio State. We will see what happens, but the way I view it, I just tell people, I think Penn State and Michigan, I view them as even. Penn State has the QB experience. Michigan might have the talent edge. So it's very interesting there. Number 4, Michigan State is in serious trouble. So an absolute dumpster fire again yesterday for Michigan State. I told people, take Ohio State minus the 27. Horrible matchup for MSU. And I said this last night. I think this was probably best case scenario for Michigan State, considering they got a fluke pick 6. They scored a touchdown in total garbage time. Ohio State stopped trying in the third quarter, and they got a touchdown that was aided by 2 ridiculous 15-yard personal foul penalties. Or one of them might have been hands to the face. But either way, guys, Michigan State probably not making a bowl. I would say best case scenario is 6-6 right now. It's real bad. Mel Tucker, this is back-to-back years. The defensive secondary, it's not just, Big Ten bad. It's the worst defensive secondary in college football. So there are major issues for Michigan State. And, Spartan Stadium was empty early third quarter. They got to be pressing the panic button soon there. Number 5, Notre Dame is underrated. Yes, I said this last week that I was noticing kind of a thing with Notre Dame where people legitimately thought that Notre Dame was bad. They lose week 1 to Ohio State, but they really tamed down that Ohio State offense. Some of that might have been JSN going out early in that game and Ohio State having to adjust quickly. But still, to only allow 21 points, that is impressive. The next week, they end up losing to Marshall. And guys, I'll be honest, that is a horrible loss. Losing to Marshall is really bad. But because it's Notre Dame, it's like people bought into it even more. And it was like times 10. It was one loss. It was a bad loss, but it was one loss. Yes, they were 0-2. They get a win against a decent California team. They beat UNC on the road. By the way, that's UNC's only loss. And then they easily beat BYU. They completely controlled this game. They were outgaining BYU by 200 yards basically the entire game. They are a top 25 team in terms of all the analytics, all the metrics. They're underrated at this point. They are significantly underrated, and they've got Stanford and UNLV coming up, so they will be 5-2, and I do see them re-entering the AP Top 25 poll. Number 6, I hate college injuries. Yes, just crazy. The noon slate especially, KJ Jefferson is out. You know, Malik Cunningham randomly is out. Dillon Gabriel is out. It's just nobody discloses injuries in college football. If we could just get one injury report or something, or at least learn some things, you know, especially with the quarterbacks, it would really help a lot of us out in terms of predicting these games, in terms of the overall context. I should have seen the Dillon Gabriel thing coming. I think, you know, everyone is being very cautious when it comes to concussions. But, like, I didn't even know Malik Cunningham was injured. I didn't even know KJ Jefferson was injured until, like, Friday or whatever. So there's just a lack of knowledge, significant, especially, like, Ohio State with Mayan Williams. When does Mayan Williams get hurt? I mean, the dude, how do you get hurt in practice to the point where you can't play? Maybe Ohio State is being overly cautious, but it's just all these injuries this year, and we know nothing about them. And then people say, oh, you have no right to know about injuries. And it's like, really? I mean, we're trying to add context to these games. If you want to grow your sport, you can't sit there and let us predict games that we think KJ Jefferson is going to be playing in, and then a minute before the game time, oh, he's not playing now. And you want to grow your sport that way. Come on, guys. We need a little more context on these injuries. Number 7, Toledo with some separation in the MAC. So a very interesting development. We know the MAC, it's such a mosh pit, but Toledo University, coming off a major blowout win over Northern Illinois, they look like a team that could potentially run the table, similar to Western Michigan when they made a New Year's Six game. Toledo on offense looks phenomenal. They're the best team in the MAC right now. And guys, I'm very impressed with Toledo and what they've done. Number 8, Wisconsin is back. So yes, we wondered, would the coaching change actually work when it comes to Wisconsin being rejuvenated? They're 9-point favorites or 10-point favorites, and they crush Northwestern. Northwestern is a dead program right now. Wisconsin, Graham Mertz turns into Joe Namath. Unbelievable. The 4 touchdown passes. The defense was phenomenal. Wisconsin, they're in the Big Ten West, which means they're going to have a lot of really winnable games. And I could see a situation playing out where Wisconsin wins 5 of the next 6 games and Jim Leonhard wins that job at Wisconsin. That's how I see it. It's kind of trending that way in my opinion. I would be a little bit nervous if I was a Wisconsin fan. I love Jim Leonhard, but with the way college football is going, everyone's going more towards offense. Jim Leonhard is the complete opposite. Certainly you need good defense, don't get me wrong. It'll be interesting to see what Wisconsin does, but my prediction right now, Wisconsin gets rejuvenated. They're also helped by an easy Big Ten West schedule. Jim Leonhard goes on a run, and he ends up being the next full-time head coach at Wisconsin. Number 9, rank James Madison. It's time. James Madison on the road at a good Arkansas State team. They crush them by 20 points. They easily cover that 11-point spread. So James Madison needs to be ranked. I don't care if analytically they're not one of the top 25 teams. This is great for the sport. When teams like James Madison do this, you know, they join FBS. It's time to rank them. So James Madison, undefeated. I think they're 5-0 against the spread now, or whatever, 6-0. They are impressive. And at this point, maybe they're not, they don't have the resume, they don't have the wins, But if you're there, it's not going to kill you to rank them 23rd or 24th and really have a little funness into college football. That's my opinion on that. Number 10, Ohio State should be number 1 right now. This is totally unbiased. I just don't see another team that can match Ohio State. I understand the concerns at cornerback. I really do, because right now for Ohio State, it's not good. But the offense is such a cheat code if they are able to get Mayan Williams healthy, if they are able to get Trevion healthy, if they are able to get JSN healthy. The offense is such a cheat code with the way the offensive line is playing and giving CJ Stroud time. It just seems like in a day and age right now where there's no totally complete consensus number 1 teams, when you look at all the analytics, when you look at all the data, if you're ranking and you're being unbiased about it, there's significant flaws with Georgia. There's significant flaws with Alabama. There are flaws with Ohio State, but they're not significant. The cornerbacks, yes, I think it's a simple adjustment. They need to turn to look for the ball. They're in the right spot. It's not like they're getting, ran past. They just don't have the right technique. So Ohio State, in my opinion, they've won all these games. I know they're not facing great teams, but that win against Notre Dame week 1, guys, Notre Dame is a top 25 team. They are. I'm sorry, they are. I know they lost to Marshall, but Ohio State, in my opinion, does have a top 25 win against Notre Dame. Number 11, Georgia has significant flaws. So, guys, I guess people just want to keep masking this and putting makeup over it. Georgia's offense is just not good enough. And I've said it over and over and over and over and over again. And they cover against Auburn, scoring some late touchdowns, whatever. And then it's like, oh yeah, Georgia crushes Auburn. When really, I think that game was 14-0 at the half. Guys, it's just not going to happen with Georgia this year. I've said it over and over again. They keep struggling on offense. Everyone's going to be so surprised when they get upset in the regular season to a team that they're not supposed to lose to. We almost saw it with Missouri, the Penn State game, this game against Auburn, 14-3 at the half. They've got significant flaws. They've shown significant flaws, but nobody's listening. We're still getting people that think they're the best team in college football. I understand you could say Georgia's defense is better than Ohio State's defense, but Ohio State's offense is so much more explosive, so much better than Georgia's offense. You cannot at this point rank. When you look at the two teams, yes, Georgia's defense is slightly better than Ohio State's defense, but Ohio State's offense is in another stratosphere than Georgia. That's my opinion. Still worried about Bama's wide receivers. So Alabama, definitely closer than expected. The 4-point win against A&M. The backup quarterback, you're not going to learn much. It seemed more like precautionary with Bryce Young sitting, Nick Saban not wanting to take chances when you're a 24-point favorite at home. You think you can win the game with your backup, and Alabama was able to win that game. Really, the only reason it was close was because of turnovers. So Alabama really controlled the game. But guys, the questions still remain with Alabama. Do they have the wide receivers, when a defense takes away Gibbs, the running back, to really threaten teams? They struggled against Texas. We really haven't seen them need the receivers since. We will see how they do at Tennessee. That should be an epic game next week. But Alabama still, it's like, I need to see it from Alabama. I still haven't seen it in terms of the passing attack. I need to see Bryce Young throw for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns. I need to see that to receivers. That's what I need to see. North Carolina gets a shout out. Yes, North Carolina. Really, really surprised at how good North Carolina is after Sam Howell leaves. Drake May might be better than him. I think Drake May looks like Mac Jones, honestly, the way he throws and things like that. So Drake May, North Carolina, they get a huge win as underdogs on the road. Say what you want about Miami, but they were coming off a bye. They were at home. And North Carolina, with just one loss at this point, having a really nice year. Mac Brown doing a great job there. Texas football will be scary next year. Yes, Quinn Ewers looks like the consensus number 1 pick in the 2024 NFL draft. Of course, he is a sophomore. He has to stay, For a year. Next year, definitely he will still be in college. So Quinn Ewers, and I would say also Caleb Williams, will be the top 2 Heisman contenders going into next year. So Texas football, they've already got the 2 losses. They probably will get another one just because the Big 12 is such a mosh pit and there's so many quality teams. But next year, even losing Bijan Robinson, we know the boosters will break the bank to make sure Quinn Ewers has a superstar running back if they need to, and they'll acquire anyone through the transfer portal. Next year, the hype around Texas is going to be ridiculous. Xavier Worthy will be back. Quinn Ewers will have experience. We will see how they finish this year. If I was a Texas fan, I would hope for a New Year's Six Bowl. That's what I would be shooting for, but they are going to be crazy good next year. And number 15, a little night one, trust David Shaw. Yes, David Shaw, one of the best coaches in college football. Guys, if I were to rank the head coaches in college football, I would go Chip Kelly number 1, Nick Saban number 2, Ryan Day number 3, David Shaw number 4, and Dabo Swinney number 5 probably. David Shaw is phenomenal. Stanford plus the 7. I said trust David Shaw. Take Stanford plus 7. We got helped a little bit with the quarterback being out. They end up covering easily. David Shaw covers again. Unbelievable. What a great head coach. Guys, trust David Shaw and trust Chip Kelly. And that is going to do it for the Week 6 edition of College Football Hot Takes. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description.